All right, happy Monday. Hopefully everyone is doing great out there. Busy weekend of NBA basketball. Thank God Oklahoma City, New Orleans saved us from a weekend of blowouts. We are going to continue the offseason video that we do for teams that are eliminated. We'll hold off on Sacramento for right now. I know we put Chicago out there, but we're going to hold off a little bit until they do a little bit of a kind of a State of the Union with them, and we can gather some feedback. We have done 5 so far. We did Chicago Friday night after they were eliminated by Miami. We are going to focus on the Memphis Grizzlies right now, who finished the season 27-55. One of the more remarkable seasons, and I don't say that in a good way, of how injuries can ravage a roster. I said this during the season. I don't have a vote, and I don't want to have a vote for all Coach of the Year or Rookie of the Year or any of these honors here. I think there's a kind of when a lot of people have bonuses in their contract, I think there's a severe conflict of interest. So I kind of just give my opinion, but if you were given Coach of the Year honors, and not certainly to win it, I think certainly what Taylor Jenkins and his staff went through this year, certainly starting with the Ja Morant suspension, and then you get injuries to Marcus Smart, and Jaren Jackson, and Desmond Bane, and the list goes on and on. 51 different starting lineups. A remarkable 12 players signed to a hardship exception, a 10-day hardship exception. That usually, the average for a team, there are some teams that will go through an eternity without signing a player to a hardship exception. The rarity is probably maybe 3 or 4 a year total in the league. But here's Memphis, who had signed 12 players to the hardship exception. They had a record 33 players signed to NBA contracts throughout the year, kind of a rotating door here. And to get 27 wins out of this group is pretty remarkable. The trio of Smart, Bane, Jackson, the foursome of Smart, Bane, Jackson, Morant played 4% of all possessions this year. That is pretty remarkable. The plus, and there's always a plus in anything, is that you were able to develop your second-round pick, Gigi Jackson, who finished, top 4 in rookie scoring. You were able to develop Vince Williams. You were able to get an extended look at Santi Aldama and, Zaire Williams and Jake LaRavia, your two-way guy, Scottie Pippen Jr. here. Something that wasn't going to happen if this roster was healthy. The other side of it is if the roster was healthy, you were going to be a playoff team. The other side of it, too, is that now you have a pick that is currently projected at number 7. We will see what happens the night of the lottery, which is the day of the lottery. I think it's in the afternoon, May 12th, a rarity Sunday, and you have a 7.5% chance. So you throw everything it's basically kind of a throwaway year. When you come to playoffs, the expectations. But there are some good things that come with it as far as your development of some of your guys that are going to play a role coming off your bench next year. You'll add a top 7, maybe even the top pick in the draft to go with a group that many should project to be a playoff team next year, whether it be a team competing for one of the play-in spots or a team that's competing in the top 6. And that's why we've said all along that, like, if you're Golden State and you're the Lakers, like, there are teams like Memphis and Houston, there's going to be probably 2 teams that are going to be left out that were playoff teams this year here. So that is a little bit of a kind of the state of the roster as far as where they are. The only players that are free agents are Luke Kennard, and we're going to talk about him. He's got a team option, and Yuta Watanabe's got a player option. Everybody is under contract going into next year. Your finances, okay? So we did a little bit of the state of the roster, kind of know where they are. Health-wise, it's a 50-win team. I truly believe that. Your finances you have to get your finances in order. And that's where kind of Kennard comes into play. We put out the new apron rules last Monday. We put out the chart, and everyone said, wait a minute, why is Memphis and Portland on the apron, projected first apron teams for next year? And here's why. And this is a big reason why we saw the Steven Adams trade in February. Basically, it was a salary dump. You did pick up some draft equity in the second round. You remove that $12.6 million salary, okay? You've got $161 million in guaranteed salary, okay? You add that $14.8 million Luke Kennard team option, then a $7.5 million salary for their first round pick. That gets you over the luxury tax, which is at $171, and that gets you over the first apron, which is $178-ish. So the decision basically is somebody is going to have to go, because you're not going to enter July over the first apron, which comes with a lot of restrictions as far as what Memphis is going to have. You can still go out right now at the draft and make a trade and send out cash, and you can go out and aggregate contracts, and you can still go out and take back more money. The rules for Memphis, the apron rules, trigger certainly on July 1. However, if Memphis goes out and sends $3 million and buys a pick, which probably not considering you have two already, the apron restrictions basically trigger starting on July 1. You become hard capped at that 178 number. So keep an eye on as far as what happens with Luke Kennard. Zach Kleiman, their GM, who I thought did an extremely good job. Handling roster chaos is not fun. Handling a rotating door of injuries is not fun. It's not fun for your equipment manager, who basically has to keep on, putting jerseys together. It's not fun for your coaching staff, not knowing who you have. It puts a lot of pressure, certainly. I think fun pressure when it comes to your scouting department, finding guys that are under the radar. Maybe you sign to a 10-day and they stick. But you basically, as I said, had a rotating door. But now his decision is going to be what happens with Luke Kennard, or maybe another player on the roster. Kennard, second in three-point percentage among players with 4 or more attempts, 45% from 3. That's a big number. June 28th, keep an eye, circle that $14.5 million team option. If you exercise that, you will get under the luxury tax. You will have flexibility when it comes to the apron. Exercise, I mean, as far as if you decline that, you will have flexibility below the apron. So you got to get your finances in order. That is certainly going to be priority one when it comes to Memphis. I think when it looks at from a roster standpoint, okay, two ways to look at it. You've got you got 3 picks in the draft, 7, 39, and 57. Is the roster sustainable to handle that? Maybe the 2 seconds go to 2 ways. Maybe you move that for a future here. The likelihood is that you're going to have 3 players on standard NBA contracts are pretty slim, I would say. So keep an eye on that. That's a late June decision as far as what you want to do. The other thing too, and Zach Kleiman has come out and said it. We kind of clipped his postseason press conference in my master off-season research notes here. As far as the comfortability level with Jaren Jackson playing the 4, the 5, getting another big to complement. This is a little bit different than when you had Steven Adams a few years ago. Aldama played next to him for most of the year. But that's going to be interesting, and that's an interesting thing when you're picking at number 7. Maybe you move up to 3 and maybe target a player like Donovan Clingan from UConn. Just a hypothetical here. But Kleiman has come out. Let me find that clip for you guys. We'll find it here. But that was kind of the offseason priority as far as from a roster standpoint. We're going to find that right here. Sorry for the delay. Here we go. Regarding Jaren, we're probably best positioned if Jaren is playing the 5. From a roster building standpoint, I think we see the value of having a more traditional true big. We've seen Jaren successful in those type of lineups as well. I envision we'll add at least 1 big. Whether that's a starting big or a rotation big, I think we have some work to do on the roster there. So that's when we wrote about in the offseason, in their offseason article, as far as figuring out another big to complement Jaren Jackson Jr. And I think that is certainly going to be the focus in Memphis this offseason. The extension candidates to watch, there's a bunch. Jackson's eligible for 3 years, $106 million. Marcus Smart is eligible for an extension. Kennard is extension eligible. All your former first-round picks are eligible for an extension. Zaire Williams, Aldama, guys like that up until October 21st. Certainly team needs is health, of course. Stay healthy. Backup point guard for Morant, or you could stagger the Marcus Smart minutes. That is probably your big thing, along with getting another big to complement Jaren Jackson. Draft equity, you are in good shape. You got your first-round picks, one of the rare teams over the next 7 years. You can move picks, your first-round pick this offseason come June. There's no restrictions. You can swap. You've got some equity with that Phoenix, the less favorable of Phoenix, Orlando, and Washington in 2026. You've got some seconds available, roughly 6. But you are in good position here based on your core group coming back. But as I said, the priority is going to be as far as getting your I know it sounds simple, but based on these new rules, it's about getting your finances in order. And the big decision, of course, is going to be what happens with Luke Kennard with that team option, and then certainly what happens on May 12th with the draft lottery. So that is 11 minutes on the Memphis Grizzlies. All in all, despite 27 wins, I do think that this is not a doom and gloom Detroit where we're like building up and it's going to take 2 or 3 years. I do think if they're healthy, I do think because of the development, what I like with their young players, that this team could be a 50-win team, and this team could be a top 6 seed in the Western Conference next year.
NBA,